Church Key.
Yes. So Church Key was that first ambigu date. And you know, right from the start, Brian and I had this incredible connection. And we approached our relationship with a lot of intentionality. So after the ambigu date, we only had real dates, and they were really special. And what's interesting is that our path was not necessarily linear. We were having amazing dates, really, really connecting. And to be honest, I felt a lot of fear, especially in the beginning. I thought that it was too good to be true. And I was worried that I knew that it was so incredible, and I was worried that I wasn't ready. I was worried that I would mess things up. And so we actually, you know, maybe a couple months into it, I was at a point where I realized I was falling in love with him, and I was afraid of that. And I actually had a conversation with him at a place called Farley's Coffee, where I told him, you know, I really care about you, but this is moving very quickly, and I know that once I commit, I'm going to be committed forever. I just have a feeling about this. I need to kind of slow things down. And to Brian's credit, the same intentionality that he pursued all of our dates and all of our relationship up until that point, he showed that same integrity when I told him that. Instead of saying like, oh, okay, whatever, I don't really care about you anyway, bye, forever. He was like, I am so sure about you. I am so sure about you that I will wait. I will wait as long as you need me to. Take your time. I respect your space. I respect your growth. Just know that until you tell me I am no longer interested, I will be here. And that totally took me back. And what's actually really funny is that the next day, I had work the next day. I was thinking about this in the back of my mind the entire time. And on the bus ride back home, I was actually talking to one of my girlfriends on the phone about this situation. And I was explaining to her, yeah, he'll wait for me, and I know this is really right, but I'm also scared. And she was like, girl, what are you waiting for? Like, lock it down. Like, he's amazing. You reacted that way? Like, he'll wait for you forever? And when she said that, it was like this voice of reason. I was like, oh my God, like, what am I scared of? The only thing I'm fearing is my own sense of fear. This is an incredible relationship. And Brian showed an incredible amount of integrity the entire time we've been together. And I just realized, I was like, what am I afraid of? Like, yeah, let me go fearlessly forward. And so I actually called Brian and told him I needed to talk to him. And I'd like for you to share your experience.
So, you know, I in my emotion, I really was willing to wait. I actually didn't tell her then. I was willing to wait forever, but I had like 1 or 2 years in the back of my head. It was like, you know, like 1 or 2 years sounds good. Like maybe at that point I'll call her and say, hey, is this gonna happen or not? And so like I was really ready to wait a full calendar year, maybe 2, and I get this call and I'm like, oh shoot, she's gonna tell me that it's just not gonna work out. And I really was convinced that that was the case. And she was on her bus from her job at Google, and she's like, oh, I'm going to Washington Square Park, which is this place in San Francisco, and on the phone, and she wanted to talk to me about it, and you know, talk about whatever this thing she wanted to talk about. I was like, oh, I said, can we just talk on the phone? And for me, I thought she was going to break up with, well, we were dating, I thought, you know, she was going to cut it off. And I was like, I need to do myself a favor of experiencing this emotionally in person, because I care so much about this person. I want to fully experience this rejection. So I said, that's so weird. I'm like 3 blocks away from Washington Square Park. It was the first lie I ever told Jakara. And the last. No. There were so many lies during the engagement. I think a lot of like complete fabrications of reality. So I jumped on my motorcycle and I broke a lot of traffic laws getting there and making it true that I could get in approximately 3 blocks time. Sorry, Mom. She's very worried. It's okay, I survived. And got to Washington Square Park. Okay, I'm here. She got there before she did, so I felt very good about that. And she arrived and we talked, and she was like, you know, I just have to say that you're amazing, and I love our connection, I love our conversations, I love everything about everything that we do, and it's just so amazing. And I was like, yeah, okay. I was like waiting for the but, you know? And she's like, and therefore I want to be your girlfriend. I was like, wait, what? And it took me about a week to realize that the most amazing woman in the world was my girlfriend. And I think we both knew then that this was going to lead to forever, and it did. So
who said I love you first? Oh.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say, Tyler, talk about lies. Tyler actually said that we didn't know it was coming. We totally knew this was coming, and we didn't know that question was coming. This is it. Do you want me to say it? Or can I say it?
It's a really cute story.
It's a really like.
Man. So I think both of us were really waiting to say I love you. How do I put this? Our love really grew and grew and grew as we were dating, but we didn't say it. And at least from my perspective, I was waiting until I was 200% sure. And the reason was that I knew Brian was really special, and so I wanted to make sure that every single moment that we had really felt as significant as it could be. And so I knew that I first knew that I loved Brian about a month and a half before I told him. And in that month and a half, I really was checking with myself, yes, this is true. I really, really do deeply love him. And I know he was feeling the same way. And one kind of funny thing that happened is that we would find proxies to say how we cared about each other. So we'd be like, I really, really care about you, with kind of loving eyes. And we have a very close friend group, and so we often say I love you to our friends. And so there'd be kind of these kind of funny moments where we would tell our friends, love you, and then we'd be like, I really care about you. So the night that we did say I love you, we were spending some time together, had just had an incredibly connected, romantic evening, and we both looked at each other with these eyes of such love. And Brian knows me so well. He knew that because I was typically the one in the relationship that wanted to go a little bit slower and be more cautious, he knew that I would have to be the first one to say I love you, for my own comfort. And so he looked at me. I knew he could tell that I really wanted to say it, and he told me, you can tell me anything in this moment, and I will absolutely welcome it, and feel the same way. And I knew that was his moment of saying, if this is what you want to say, don't worry, I feel exactly the same way. And so I just looked him in the eyes and said, I love you, Brian. And he said, I love you too. And I was just like, oh. Yeah.
That's super cute. I feel like this is like a recurring theme of just like extremely cute moments, including this one with these like adorable matching mugs. And actually, so that first part is William, California, and the second next slide is like more of the mugs, like initials and this whole breakfast thing. It does occur to me that you guys are Team BJ. It gives me a little bit of pause to say that, and I'm curious why Team BJ, and I feel like the young people in the room will probably know. Old people are probably asking themselves why it's not JB. I don't know, whatever. Team BJ.
Well, the reality is, the reason why our nickname is Team BJ is because the B had a handle on the left and the J had a handle on the right. It's as simple as that. It would have been JB if it was otherwise. So our first Valentine's Day, I took on my motorcycle up to Sonoma County, which is where I'm from. I grew up in the wine country of California. And my mom connected me with her good friend Deborah, and we stayed at her beautiful house, the same house you saw in the video where all the lays were given. So thank you to Deborah, even though she's not even here. That's her little nook that she gave us for that morning on Valentine's Day, our first Valentine's Day. And I got custom-made mugs with our home states on them. And then, you know, as any good millennial does, we took a photo and posted it on Facebook. And my friend Jeff replied to that, Team BJ, ha ha ha. And then like 10 people liked that comment, and then it's just the rest is history. So
That's super cute. So, you know, I think another theme is just you guys like having this connection and having so many things in common. But there is one thing that is very different between you two, and that is that Jakara went to Yale, the much better school, And Brian went to Harvard, which is like an okay school. I don't know how I feel about this. Has that factored in? It's almost like having a Punho guy on the stage at the Sealani party.
I know. You know, I tolerate it. But there's one day of the year when it's the Yale-Harvard game where all bets are off, and we become true rivals.
Yeah, and actually, Jakara, you look super happy and thrilled in this photo, and Brian doesn't look super happy at the end of last year's football game. Why is that?
I think it's because Yale won that game.
I think
that's
they did.
Why.
Is that right? Can you confirm?
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't quite remember.
Yeah, that's right. Harvard beat Yale in 2019. I remember that. That's correct.
Oh, okay. That's right. If you forget who won, right here. Just as a reminder. I also went to Yale, which is how I got to know Jakara. So, huzzah! Go us. They were also 9-1 that year, so they're not doing that well.
There's always next year.
Okay, cool. So we'll skip this topic because Brian's obviously uncomfortable with this whole thing. We'll go back to San Francisco, which is something they have in common. Let's talk about your life in San Francisco. I think next slide we have some pictures of your apartment. On the right, your bedroom. We'll skip over that part. I'm curious about this thing on the left. You mentioned to me it's like a snuggle chamber. Like, what is this?
This is our cuddle puddle. And what that is we actually, we are very close to our friends, and when they come over, we just all lounge down and we have drinks, tea, whatever, and we're very close to each other, we're getting all snuggly, and we realize that we have to call this the cuddle puddle. It's also a beautiful space for us because we, as a couple, we try to make a priority of waking up at least 30, 40 minutes early before we have to have our obligations, so that Jakara and I can have a very intentional time to start every morning. It's quiet, and we usually hold each other's hands, we drink coffee and tea, we talk about our intentions for the day, and we also remind, this is a little deep, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it, remind ourselves that one day we won't be alive, and what will this day mean as our day progresses? How much would we give to go back in time for this day? And we actually have page-a-day calendars, and in that cuddle puddle right there every morning in San Francisco, we take a representation of that day and we hold it in our hands and we ask ourselves, what are we going to do with the one and only October 20th, 2018 that we will ever have? Because like our lives, this day will pass. We put it on top, and then we actually bury October 19th and put it in a box. And every now and then we look at the box and there's thousands of pages, and we're constantly trying to remember that our lives are passing and we want to make every day count. And so that little room right there is a really important part of our lives, and really excited to bring you into the intimate aspect of our daily life in that way.
Awesome. And you have friends from all over, all over the city and from all the different things that you do. Actually, why don't you talk a little bit about what you do in San Francisco?
Sure. I work at Google. And I'm a policy specialist at Google. Basically what that means is everything you've seen Google in the headlines for, whether it be allegations of political bias or terrorist issues or hate speech or cyberbullying or all the kind of really meaty, difficult topics that Google gets criticized for, that's what I work on. And specifically when an issue comes up. So, we worry about something like fake news. We have product managers coming to us saying, well, I work on the news product, or I work on search, and I'm worried about fake news. What do I do? And my job is to help them understand and research and define what do we mean by fake news, and then work with them on how the products should change to be able to deal with those threats. So every day is constantly evolving, and if you see Google in the news, chances are I'm probably at work very hard in the background to try and make it better.
And I'm an entrepreneur, which means that I build companies for a living. I've been part of 4, maybe 5 companies, depending on what you count. This is my co-founder. His name is Peter Cheeseman, PhD. He's an inventor. He's invented several things, sold patents before. This is our patent for a more efficient internal combustion engine. But this is probably just one of my 5 jobs. I do a lot of different things. I'm an event producer. And I will be actually the wedding planner of our wedding, which we don't know what
It's
it's
a
going to be
bold
yet. Yes, it's a very bold move, but we are actually going to do something really special for our wedding. Shocker, right? After seeing the engagement. So, mom's the word, even the date is not announced. I actually think I need more time than I realized, so I'm glad I haven't announced a date yet. But, I plan events, and I'm probably part of 3 companies now. I think the 4th one is not really working out, but it's really exciting to be in Silicon Valley, which is the center of entrepreneurship, and I'm involved in a lot of projects. And some pay and some don't, and some will pay, and some just paid yesterday. Got great news in the email yesterday. So it's a constant flux, and it's actually really great that Jakara has a traditional 9 to 5, and I'm running around meeting with investors and trying to build companies. It's an incredible mix. It's one of the ways in which we're very complementary.
Great. Speaking of like events that you produce, they're not always in San Francisco. In fact, I think the next slide is, I actually have no idea what this is. So you're gonna have to tell us what this is. Actually, I know what it was. There's actually a video.
Yes.
This is the Uganda video. And this is just like the most ridiculous thing to me. I still don't know how you like organized people to go to Uganda. So tell us a little bit about this.
So the video you're about to watch is it's kind of a crazy story. It's a really crazy story. I rode my bicycle around the world. I have to start there, which is a crazy place to start. I actually was working in finance in New York a long time ago, and my friend said, let's start a nonprofit, let's fundraise for the United Nations, and let's ride our bicycles around the world. I met a prince in Uganda. He was of the Bugandan tribe. We stayed in touch. I helped him write a book about his culture. And then he reached out to me and said, I'm getting married. It's the royal wedding in Uganda. Do you want to bring your friends? And I was like, sure. So I had like over 200 friends who wanted to come. I chose 36 of them, and I literally built my own safari company. I went to Uganda on my own on a recon mission to figure out how I can get 36 Muzungu, which is what you call white people in Uganda, and you call that a lot if you go there. And how do we do this? And so I basically decided, rather than going with a tour company, I spent 2 months there building a safari company just for this event. And it was a highly catered event. But if you guys are curious, like event production, like what does Brian do? This is one of the events I've done, and this video will give you a sense of the kind of events that I organize. This one happens to be a safari in Uganda. So. special video for my next trip. Party happened.
That was amazing and like looked super ridiculous and just beautiful. Makes me want to go. Please put me on the invite list for the next one. Back to slideshow. Okay, now I understand where we are in the slideshow. This is like some of the things you guys do in San Francisco, right? We go back one. Like, I don't know what this ball pit is.
So that's my friend Helen right there. She's one of my best friends. So like, if you want to figure out what a cuddle puddle is, like we kind of like we just get close to each other and we love each other. And
Wait, is that your living room?
no, it's not.
Okay.
We turned someone else's living room into a ball pit, and it was fun. So that's an event I produced for my friend's birthday party, Helen's birthday party. That's another event we were involved in. That's our friend Tony right there. And we were official puppeteers for the Oregon eclipse. If you guys heard there's an eclipse about 2 years ago, and we were at this event, huge event that celebrated the eclipse, and we brought all these puppets and things like that. It was so much fun,
And those were the same puppets that are featured in our engagement video. Those flags.
So yeah, we're puppeteers too. We've been up to a lot, and those are some of our best friends actually. That's Danny on the left, Lisa down there. Mustafa is one of my best friends. We throw like 500-person birthday parties every year. My birthday just passed, so we're actually having a party in 2 weeks, and we're renting out this huge venue. 500 of our friends are coming. It's been insane and amazing. You guys are all welcome to come. You want to fly to California for it. And then of course, the woman to my right is just a really beautiful woman. So her name is Jakara.
Aww. All right, I think the next slide is from Uganda?
Yeah, those are the 36 people I brought to Uganda, and that's our white party. I really like white parties. I think white is a beautiful color. You can't tell, can you?
Okay, so the next slide, okay, placeholder for the Uganda video, awesome. And the next one is another like awesome event that you guys put on every year, and I think this needs like a little bit of explanation for anybody who hasn't heard of Burning Man. Maybe you can explain that.
Sure. So I've been going to Burning Man for 6 years straight now. So I did the bicycle trip around the world, and then I kept traveling, and then I moved to the Bay Area and started going to Burning Man and realized that I wanted to be a big part of this. And so it's a big part of my community. I'm very involved in Burning Man, if you've heard of it. And I started a Burning Man camp, and it's now one of the largest Burning Man camps that exists. It's about 100 people. We've been doing it for 3 years. We changed it up, so we probably have over 200 people who are part of that community. And I organized that community, I started that community. It's called Olympus. It's a Greek mythology themed camp. So we have bacchanalias, and we have like all sorts of fun events. And I'm very proud to say that I started the camp. And all these people said, we'll follow Brian into the desert. I don't know if it was a good idea or not, but they did. And we have a lot of fun. It's a really special thing, and it's close to Jakara in my heart. It's an amazing city. It's a temporary city of 70,000 people that shows up in Black Rock Desert, Nevada. And when it's there, it's the second largest city in all of Nevada. And it's a city of artists. Everything is art. Everywhere you go, it's just art, art, art. And art is very important to us. And so to be able to be in a city where everyone is trying to make and be engaged in art, it gives a lot of purpose and meaning to the experience of life. So I'm very proud to be a Burning Man camp founder. Jakara is always my helper with everything we do together. So
maybe if we go to the next slide, I think there's more photos that'll show kind of like the art and like just weird like people kind of do as they feel. And maybe Jakara can talk a little bit about like these photos and like I don't even know what that is on the right. It's like a car kebab. I don't even know.
It is indeed a car kebab. Those are actual salvaged cars that an artist put on an enormous kind of metal steel skewer, and we actually climbed up those cars. It's about 10 stories tall. One of the mottos of Burning Man is safety third. They put art and self-expression and creativity above safety. And we got back alive.
This is where the parents kind of like close their ears.
Yeah. Exactly. And those are some of our closest friends, and you know, the ways that we're dressed are just kind of the ways that we feel most comfortable, and we make a lot of those clothes and really value self-expression and creativity.
Actually, I just want to jump in here just to show you some of the amazing things about Jakara. What I'm wearing in every outfit, Jakara designed. So Jakara designed that hat. She designed those pants. She designed all this. there's a lot of Melanie in Jakara, and so I organize Burning Man camps, and Jakara makes me look good doing it. So
That's awesome. I want to go back to something actually that Brian you mentioned earlier is your bicycling around the world, and like I feel like there's no way to fully like grasp or appreciate it. If we go to the next slide, maybe we can like talk a little bit about just how ridiculous. And it's not just like bicycling like for a few days and like your little like trip. This is like intense. This is literally around the world.
yeah, no, that's great. Thanks. So this is the nonprofit, one of the nonprofits I've started, one of two. This is called the Millennium Development Ride, and it was a bold project to ride our bicycle across the world. So we rode our bicycle across the continent of Asia. We went from Hong Kong to Jerusalem, and then across the continent of Africa, we're from Cairo to Cape Town. And then on an unrelated trip, I've actually ridden my bicycle from New York to California. So I've ridden my bicycle across 3 continents, and it was a huge fundraiser with the United Nations. It was amazing. And I think the next slide.
Yeah, there's a map of where Brian hasn't been. The countries in blue is where he has been. It's not the other way around. And when are you going to go to like Mongolia? That's like Apuka up in
The
Asia.
perfectionist in me sees those large geographical area countries. I'm like, I just gotta go to Mongolia and Kazakhstan and as soon as possible to kind of clear it out. But I love travel, and after my first startup, I had some financial ability to both do the bicycle trip, which was across Asia, down Africa, and then I continued building my other nonprofit, which was called Interfaith Dialogue for Peace. I did projects in Pakistan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, Cyprus, all over, and just kept traveling and meeting people and building networks of nonprofit directors and religious leaders. The Interfaith Dialogue for Peace works to bring religious leaders together in areas of conflict so that peace conversations can be had. And then I just kept traveling, doing this type of work, and then I decided I just really like traveling. So for about 5 years, I went to over 140 countries, and so I've been to over half the world. And one of the cool things that I guess we'll talk to is then I started bringing Jakara around the world.
Yeah. Real quick, Brian, I noticed that the Philippines is in gray. So you haven't been to the Philippines?
I've not been to the Philippines.
Okay, you can come to my grandma's house in Wapabu,
Yes.
we'll have a great time. It'll be the same thing. But yeah, Jakara, you've been on some of these fantastic journeys too, and the next slide I think is 2 very important places to you.
Yes. So the photo on the left is Belarus. That was the last European country Brian hadn't been to. So the moment that we landed, we celebrated that he had gone to every single European country in the world. And the reason why we're kissing on the right is because we just finished kissing the Blarney Stone in Ireland, which was really fun.
Did the Blarney Stone appreciate it as much as you guys did?
We asked consent first, and it was cool with it.
Cool. That's just so amazing to like even think about, like 140 countries. Next slide. Some more travels. What is going on the right? This is like a lot. Did you guys like raid a library and just like steal all the contents?
So I am addicted to travel guidebooks. I almost wrote one a long time ago, and I love them. And so if you guys want to know how crazy I am, usually when I travel, so that was one of our trips. That was about a month and a half. We went to about 10 countries in that trip, and I carried all those guidebooks around 10 countries because I love guidebooks that much. And I spent every single waking moment I'm not experiencing museums or events reading about the country I'm in because I want to be like really educated about this world, and these guidebooks really help me do it, but they also weigh a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, this is in an airplane. Like, I see an airplane window there. Like, Chandler, are they allowed to bring that on the plane? It's gotta be more than 25 pounds. Like, that's ridiculous. And then on the left, what is this, like, alien-looking thing?
This is an art piece at Stratford upon Avon, which is the home place of Shakespeare. So I know there's some Milani folks in the crowd, and when I was in high school, I absolutely fell in love with Shakespeare. And it felt very full circle to be able to go there with Brian. And actually, it was actually the second time I had been there. The first time my parents took me as my graduation gift. So it was a beautiful moment of coming back to a place that I had one of the most beautiful memories as a teenager, and going there with my love of my life.
Oh, that's awesome, and it is literally full circle. Isn't that cute? Cool, and I understand you have a really big trip coming up, and that's the next slide. And maybe you can share a little bit about this. And Brian gets to fill in all those bukas on the map.
Yeah, no, most of these places, except for India, I have not been to yet, so I'm very excited to add to my country count, I guess. And part of the reason we're putting this up here is because if you guys happen to be in any of these countries during these dates, the dates are there. Feel free to come visit us, and you'll see what it's like to travel with us. Beware, it's a very intense experience. We are constantly running, but we love it. And I'm very excited because I've actually never been to West Africa. It's the last region in the world I have not been to yet. And so we're going to literally go from Nigeria all the way to Senegal. So we're going to cut across West Africa. We'll be gone for about 2 months. You see the dates there, feel free to write them down. And no joke, if you want to meet us there, we would love to spend our travels with you. We like to be a very inclusive couple. And if you have a way of getting to one of those places, I don't know, maybe if you work for an airline, like if you work for, I don't know, does anyone here work for an airline? I'm not sure if anyone does, but if they do, maybe they can join us, and we'll see. Sorry, Chandler works for an airline. Chandler,
That is amazing, and I wish I could join you. And as I'm sure many people in the audience could. So that is all the questions that I have. Although I do have another surprise for you. So I spent a lot of last night preparing for this. And I spent like a lot of time Googling for Team BJ videos. It didn't come up with any videos of you, unfortunately, so I had to search for you individually. So I think the next one is some stuff that I managed to dig up. I think, let's see, which one should we start with? We'll start with Brian, since you're talking about traveling. I think it's a Brian video. Yep, that one, the top one there.
Nope, lower left.
Nope,
Lower left.
lower left, lower left.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
No, yeah,
you're
no.
right. Okay.
Yeah, see, Brian doesn't want us to show this to you, so he's trying to distract us.
No, don't
More
worry.
distractions. Did you know that Brian used to be a travel host in Ecuador? I didn't, until last night, and then I saw this video.
Hi, my name is Brian Gillis, and I want to welcome you to the spectacular city of Quito. Arriving at La Ronda, we find a family of milliners that for decades have specialized in creating the most beautiful handmade hats. Luis Lopez is a third-generation hat maker. He's the owner of